This is a video in response to Professor Anton's video, which is called "What is Mental Health?" And I really enjoyed that video, and I just kind of want to expound on that and kind of touch on what my experiences are. I want to talk about my kind of life, with respect to depression, being diagnosed with that and dealing with that and such, and touch on the issue of, whether things like, mental illness, anxiety, depression, that kind of thing is because of the world or is it just chemical? Is it all in here? Often people who will diagnose you and treat you for depression will be saying that, you're going to take something called a serotonin uptake inhibitor, and it's going to prevent, it's not adding anything, but it's going to prevent all that serotonin from being trashed, I guess, in your brain. So I just kind of want to talk about that a little bit. And first of all, I think that we do have higher stats. If we look at stats, we will see higher stats of people with depression, and I think that that's primarily because due to a better diagnosis of that, people have had certain problems, but it's being made more of a big deal now, and it's being made it's being made out to be a mental illness, and it's being treated as such, and as like other ones like anxiety and ADD and ADHD are being treated and looked at as such as well. And it's just because we have better diagnoses, we have better mental health, doctors and such who can pick that out and figure that stuff out. So the way I would look at mental health, I would look at that as more as function. Gary talks a lot about function, and I would look at mental health to be the functioning of the brain, the function. And I want to talk about function a little bit, and the brain allowing the body to do what it's supposed to do, as in function being able to walk, talk, interact with others, being able to smell, taste, hear, see, that kind of thing. Everything that this brain is supposed to allow your body to do, that is function. The body allowing, certain organs to work. The body telling the heart to pump blood through all the organs. That is function. That's function in a sense. And then, having certain amounts of chemicals in your brain to allow you to act, to allow you to be, normal, I guess. That's a very vague and bad word. But, mental illness, schizophrenia, paranoid schizophrenia, PTSD, obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, manic depressive disorder. All these mental disorders are all malfunctions of the brain. It's these illnesses are the brain, for some reason it's not doing what it's supposed to do. It's not allowing, the body or the brain. Mental illness is just effective. It's not, having a specific problem with the body, but it's more, me not, acting or being the way I should be. It's not, antisocial disorder or multiple personality disorder or things like that, And, there are a lot of these which are purely chemical. I think that Then there are a select few that are not so much just chemical. I would say that things like a multiple personality disorder is arguably chemical, but then again, it's hard to say because the brain. I think that there's two possible reasons for having a mental illness, for the brain malfunctioning in the way of a mental illness, and one reason for it malfunctioning would be a physical reason, a chemical reason, genetics. My family, there's depression in my family, and I think my dad had it. I mean, my dad has it, and he has alcoholism as another one. That's another, in my opinion, a mental illness, and me and my sisters are more prone to having depression and alcoholism because of that. Me and one of my sisters actually do have depression, and I think that's partly because of genetics, but it's also because of the world, and I think that it just means that because of the things of the world, we are unable to act accordingly because of that, because of our being prone to it. But and I say the world because I feel like that me and the world and other people is one reality. It's one thing. I'm not. It's not. I'm here. That's there. But it's one reality. And me having certain beliefs about it, me holding on to certain absolutes in my life, just like Professor Anton was talking about, having that rug being pulled out from under you, and that guy who was 35 and just learned that he was adopted. That's having the rug pulled out from under you, to use Professor Anton's words. And I think that there's events in your life. Not only it's also events and that rug, their beliefs becoming untrue, absolutes that you have in your life becoming ambiguities, and absolutes becoming no longer absolute, and you having this void of meaning in your life. And I feel like that those are the two reasons. And I feel like because of just like if you're in a war, if you're in Iraq or something, you can get if you're in Iraq or something, you can get post-traumatic stress disorder, or if you get abused early in life or whenever in life, or if you get raped or whatever, that's going to have some psychological impact on you. Things in this world will have an impact on you, and that can lead to certain mental illnesses. So, and I think that one thing that a brain being functional is me having concern for all of this, me having concern for the world, things in the world, and me having concern of my effectivity and transcendence, having concern for those things. That's a definite function. Depression, the way I've experienced it, is lack of concern. So that's a malfunction. So, and I think anxiety is just care or concern being, in the wrong place, or too much, or in the wrong way, or such. Now, it's ways to solve this would probably be for from chemicals, medicinal regimens. So I want to talk a little bit about my life in depression. I was diagnosed with depression when I was 21, I think. I'm 23 now, and pretty much what would happen is I have a psychologist, or I have a psychiatrist who prescribes me things like these two things. I take Prozac and Wellbutrin. She prescribes me those things, and then I used to have a counselor, which would, I would tell him about things, and he was not a secular one because I am a theist. I'm a Christian, so he would tell me how to deal with things, and he moved to Tennessee, so it was after he moved that I would start taking his advice. Back then, when I was seeing him, I never really took his advice, and I wasn't taking care of myself, and I wasn't managing my depression well, and I would pretty much sleep all day. Either that or I would play Skyrim all day, and that led to me not managing my depression, led to me failing 5 classes in college, and because of that, and not caring about my bills, I didn't pay my bills, so I owed $2,000 to the college, and because of that, I had to take a year off of college, and I'm thinking about going back now because for about a year now, or about maybe half a year, I've been on track. I've been taking care of myself. I do take these, but my point here is that in my experience of depression, I didn't care about anything. I didn't care about my classes. I didn't care about my bills. When I was living in a dorm, I didn't pay for it. That's how I got so much debt. I didn't care about anything. So, and I took my pills, but I didn't really that much. But when I took them, it wasn't really that much. And for me, it would take my bad days down from like 7 to maybe 5. But I had to change some things in my life, just like Professor Anton said, that to manipulate the world to produce results. My counselor would say, even if you don't feel like doing something that you love, then do it. And he would say whether it's smoking or drinking, do those only if you understand what the consequences are, whether it be reading, whatever. He said do that to make yourself feel better. Manipulate those things to produce results. And being this counselor was a non-secular one, he would say pray and read the Bible and all this stuff. So I didn't really do that, and I guess my point here is that I think that depression comes primarily from the world. It comes primarily from mental disorder comes primarily from lack of security, lack of stability in your beliefs, lack of absolutes in your life, and having that rug pulled out from under you. And I think that this kind of mental illness is a lack of a function. It's a lack of some kind of problem, and it primarily I think it's more from the world. I think that the world and the things that happen can affect you in a certain way to where your brain can easily malfunction. And that is primarily my point, is that it's from the world, and that lack of absolutes in your life, or events that happen that just kind of sort of shatter your whole mindset about the world, having trust in people, having all of those beliefs just shattered. will have certain effects on you. And I primarily think that I got the depression, later in my life because things that happened when I was a teenager, like my dad leaving or whatever, they weren't that bad of things, but they're people that have had a lot worse. But I think that those things are going to have certain effects on you, and that these are only going to help you to a certain extent. They're going to help you a little bit, but you have to do something about it. You have to find meaning somewhere else. And in my opinion, you have to find meaning through, for one thing, accepting that there's no meaning anywhere here except for in two possible things. If you are a Christian or a theist or whatever, their meaning could be in the spiritual world in God. That's one place that there is meaning. In this concrete world, there is no meaning. There's ambiguity. The other thing where you can find some kind of meaning is in people. Everything else, these drugs that will, they're the serotonin reuptake inhibitors, reading, all that stuff, playing video games, drinking, doing drugs, all that stuff. It's all meaningless. It's all ambiguous. You're not going to find any meaning in that will help your mental health. It might for a little bit, but it's just going to bring you back to square one. So if you are an atheist of a sort, and you don't believe in a God, the best meaning that you can find is in people. It's in interactions with others, whether it be just talking to people or helping them, whatever. But the meaning is in others. That's where the meaning is. And if you are a Christian or a theist of any sort, God, the meaning being in God, the spiritual world, apart from this concrete world, God will help you find meaning, and that from God will also direct you to meaning in people, primarily helping them and talking to them. So those two things, I think, are the place where you can kind of find meaning in a sense, or find something to hold on to when certain beliefs kind of shatter. Anything else is subject to just being shattered and you having nothing again.